Projector on here. Okay, so what do you think makes an effective speaker in delivery? What do you think makes an effective speaker in delivery? I'm sorry, I'm splitting it on you.
Somebody with a loud enough, not annoying voice.
Okay, not an annoying voice. That's a good point. What else is effective? What makes an effective speaker?
Someone who's
Energetic, enthusiasm. I'm sorry? Pulls the audience into the speech. Does great attention material. Is really personable. What are some other things? Confidence. Yes. Eye contact. People that make eye contact are really more trusted. And we're going to do a little eye contact experiment here in just a little bit.
Oh, no.
But a lot goes into delivery. And that's what we're going to talk about in Chapter 13. To make an effective speaker, you have to deliver your presentation well. It's one thing to have a really great presentation on paper. It's another thing to actually present that in a unique way and in your own style and have the audience really accept you as a speaker. So delivery is important. And delivery also involves the verbal quality of your voice, but it also involves nonverbal communication. What is nonverbal communication? Gestures, hand gestures, facial expressions, body language, eye contact, the tone of your voice, the pitch of your voice, how fast you speak. All those kinds of things are nonverbal. So it takes both nonverbal and verbal in the delivery of a speech. Now, the textbook talks about 4 methods of delivering a speech: manuscript, memory, impromptu, and extemporaneous. You're going to make all of your speeches, with the exception of one, in extemporaneous method. You'll also do an impromptu. You've already done an impromptu. When did you do an impromptu in here? First day, when you introduced yourself. Okay, so you've already done an impromptu. We'll talk about what that is in just a minute. But what is manuscript? What does it mean to have a manuscript speech or to present a manuscript speech?
We have to do things on sexual harassment and abuse and what have you in the Air Force, so we have a manuscript for those because you don't want to miss any air points.
Exactly. You don't want to miss any of the points. You absolutely, positively have to get it right. You cannot make a mistake. Who gives manuscript speeches? Human Resources sometimes.
Our commander gave that one.
Okay. So in the military, commanders. Who else? The president. He's over here singing the song. The president and politicians. Why do they do it?
Brainwashes.
To brainwash us, is that what you said? Well, they have to make sure they get everything right. They have to make sure that they don't misspeak. They can't get a "the" out of place. They can't get an "and" out of place. They absolutely have to get it right because most of the time they're talking about policy. And we know that, we got to get that right so that people understand those things. And we cannot be ambiguous. We can't be, vague. We have to be very clear about all of those kinds of things. So manuscript is reading the speech, written out fully, more than an outline, written out verbatim, word for word, and then read to the audience. Okay, read to the audience. And it's only appropriate in certain situations and for certain reasons to read a speech. It can be very boring to the audience to sit through a speech that is read. You've probably been through some. You've probably been through some lectures that were read to you, and that makes them pretty boring. So be careful when you are doing manuscript speaking, if you have to do that, that you don't speak in a monotone voice, that you add some vocal variety to that. We'll talk about what all of those are coming up in just a few minutes. But make sure that you're not a robot, okay, just reading a script. Make sure that you're not monotone and, put some variety into it, put some gestures and things like that into it as well, instead of just reading from a script. The next one is memory. What do you think a memory speech is? What are you doing in memory delivery mode? I'm sorry? Completely from memory. Reciting it, it's memorized. Absolutely memorized, okay? So, I'm sorry?
Like a yoga instructor when she goes through her class.
Probably. She's got it memorized. She's got each step memorized into which she's going to do next. Maybe so. Where else do we see memorized speeches, or do we do memorized speeches? Weddings. It's not really cool to be given the toast and whip out a note card. Okay? So we do memorized speeches when they are short, when they are for special occasions, when we need to make sure that we do get it right. Although we can forget a line in our memorized speech, we can drop a line, and then we can be in real trouble if we haven't prepared for what we'll do if we do forget. So memorized speaking isn't always the best. We don't want to do it for every speech because we want speeches to be more spontaneous than that. We want them to be fresher than that. We don't want them to be exactly the same time after time if we have to give that speech more than once. But short speeches, we could have memorized the introduction speech that you guys did. That would have been appropriate for memorization. But short speeches, special occasion speeches, those are okay for memory speeches. The next one is impromptu. What's an impromptu speech?
You can hand it a topic.
It's on, I'm sorry, what did you say, Nicole?
You get like handed a topic and like have to speak.
And you've got to do it right then. What did you say, Clyde?
It's not planned.
It's not planned. Exactly right on both occasions there. It is off the top of your head, by the seat of your pants, so to speak. Little to no immediate preparation. But you will probably know the information very well. This happens in the work world all the time. When the boss might come in and say, the client is walking down the hall, you've got a minute to get together some information and do a project summary for the client. You will know the information because you've been working on the project. You've been intimately involved in the project. So you'll know what to say, but you won't have a lot of immediate preparation time. The impromptu speech you're going to do in this class, you're going to draw a topic out of a basket. You'll get a little bit of time to prepare, and then you will give that impromptu speech. All the topics will be generic. Okay, they're not going to be very specific at all. And so you can pretty much say, you know, what you want to within reason about that topic. Where or when are some other times that we make impromptu speeches?
I belong to a writing club, so, and when people come in from other groups, we have them give a spiel about themselves or their current events coming up.
Okay. Sorry? Interviews. Exactly. Excellent example. And a good example in terms of groups. When people are meeting, we do impromptu. But we certainly do impromptu in interviews. The interviewer asks a question, and we answer that off the top of our head. We are prepared because, especially with the job interview, we have prepared. We know what we're going to say based on some anticipated questions. When you give somebody directions on how to get somewhere, that's an impromptu speech because it's logical, it's organized. Otherwise, you get them lost, okay? So we do impromptu speaking all the time, and we need to develop the skill. We need to be able to talk off the top of our head in a professional way and not hammer and stammer and all that kind of stuff around, okay? So good practice to do impromptu speaking for professional careers. And then the last one is called extemporaneous, and this is the way you're delivering your speeches in here, except for that impromptu speech. And this is very carefully prepared. You've done the research, you've done the audience analysis, you've picked an appropriate topic, you have done a preparation outline, you've practiced the speech, you've rehearsed it with your visual aids or with your presentation aids, and then you give the speech with very brief notes, or sometimes without notes at all. And if you feel comfortable giving the speech without notes, that's fine if you want to do that. You do not have to use a note card if you do not want to. But no matter which method you use to deliver a speech, you want it always to have a conversational quality. You want it to always have some spontaneity. You could give the same speech 50 times, and if you are doing it extemporaneously, it will be a slightly different speech every time. You may use a different example. You in your body of the speech, if you are doing it extemporaneously and you only have brief notes because you know the material, you know everything about that topic, and you can talk about it without notes. So you always want to have conversational quality about the speech. Well, how do you make sure you have conversational quality in your speech? I'm sorry?
Like leaving an open-ended question.
Okay, you can ask some questions, open-ended questions.
You can have you can speak with more feeling like you're actually having a conversation with someone.
Okay, with more feeling. Okay, so vocal variety and using your voice can help make it sound spontaneous, can help make it sound conversational. And then you can also add in questions, either rhetorical questions or actually interactive questions, to also give it that conversational style. But if we use our voice, we can really sound like we're having a conversation instead of a speech. And different parts of our voice, some of this is nonverbal. Okay, words are the verbal part. The volume, the pitch, the vocal variety that we use, all of that is considered nonverbal communication. So, of course, volume is the loudness or softness of your voice. When we want to get someone's attention, many times we will speak louder, but a stage whisper can be just as effective. Okay, you can be softer and get just as much attention, especially if it's unexpected. All right, so you can use the volume. Then the pitch, how high or how low. Somebody said one of the characteristics of a good speaker is not to have an annoying voice. Well, sometimes people with really high-pitched voices are very difficult to listen to because it's so high-pitched. It actually, hurts our ears sometimes to listen to really high-pitched voices. But the same can be true for really low voices. It can be very difficult to hear and understand people with very bass-like voices. So somewhere in the middle is where we should strive to be. We should strive to, have more of a moderate type of pitch in our voice. But we can change that. We can go up and we can go down and give it emphasis to, change the meaning of a sentence or something like that. The rate, how fast, how slow. If we talk too fast, people aren't going to be able to understand us. If we talk too slow, we're going to lose people. We're going to bore people. We're going to put people to sleep. So, again, mid-range. You want something in the middle to be understandable for your audience. Pauses are fine as long as they're not too long or awkward. If you pause for effect, say you have a startling quote or statistic, and you want to just pause just momentarily to let the audience absorb it, that's fine. That's good. But too long of a pause, and the audience will begin to wonder, what's up? Did you lose your place? Are you going to continue? What's going on? So you want to be careful about awkward or lengthy pauses. And the next one that we can talk about, what are those? Yeah, what are those?
Vocalized pauses.
Yeah, they're called vocalized pauses, ums and ers. They're fillers. And we all use it. We all do it to some extent. I even have one, although I try to break myself of it every single day. I work on it. These are distracting. I had a student one time, because I count these in your speeches. I don't put it off for them, so it doesn't impact your grade, but I will count them. I'll put little hashtags on there, not hashtags, but little hash marks on there, so you will know how many times you do this. Because I had a student one time, I'm not kidding you, 6-minute speech, 99 ums. It is extremely distracting and unprofessional. And if you'll listen to people who are being interviewed on TV or on the radio, and they say a lot, you tend not to trust them. Yeah. So you tend not to trust people because they can't get their words out and they're not sure what they're saying. Okay? So watch this in your speeches. Try to listen for it when you are making your speech and try to avoid them. And you'll probably pick up on mine sometime between now and the end of the semester if you haven't already. But what we're talking about here is vocal variety, changing something about the way you talk, changing your voice to give life to the speech, to give expressiveness to the speech, to make it come alive for the audience. You know yourself, if somebody reads something to you in a monotone voice and is very uninteresting, you're not likely to listen very well, and you certainly don't pay much attention to what they're saying. So, liven it up, have some vocal variety, be expressive, be spontaneous, be conversational, be...
I hate classes like that.
You hate what?
Classes that the teacher has monotone.
Yes.
It's like you're just sitting there dozing off because you don't want to learn.
It's hard. It's hard. And I try not to be monotone. I try to give you a little more pizzazz than that. And we're going to talk about the fact, that I articulate better than a lot of people. It may be annoying to some people, but at least you can understand what I'm saying. I'm not mumbling. So I try to not be monotone. So make sure that you can pronounce the words that you're going to use too. If you can't pronounce the word, find another word or get some help. Get someone else to help you pronounce it correctly. Articulate, land on those consonants. I over-articulate, like I said, and sometimes that may be annoying to people, but at least I'm not mumbling. At least you can understand what I'm saying. So make sure that you do this. You articulate, you don't mumble. Do you know what dialect is? What is dialect? It's a way that we speak. It does not really have to do with accent, although accent is part of it, but dialect is not pure accent. Dialect it can be geographical, it can be cultural, it can be family. It's different ways of speaking, different words for different objects or different items or different ways of being.
Yes, they have it bad further down south, how they always say yeah after everything. Like, you going to the grocery store, yeah. Or, like, they say yeah or no. Like, they answer the question. If you don't like that, no.
Right, right. We also have in the South, we say, I'm fixing to.
Yeah.
I'm fixing to go to the store. I'm fixing to do this. Let's see. If we call it a seesaw in the South, what do you think they call it in the North? Any idea? Teeter-totter. Teeter-totter. Huh? Y'all and you guys.
Or in the UK, how we speak the same language as they do, but they say a lot of different slang words than we do.
Yes.
I think of bullocks or wanker.
Right. Yeah. Yes. What about a couch? A couch in the South. Davenport. It's called a Davenport in Pennsylvania. It's an old-time word. It's a Davenport. But that's up in Pennsylvania in that area. What about a bucket? Pail. What is that? Bathroom. Okay. Let's see. Do you know what a bubbler is?
Water fountain.
Good. You've traveled though, right? A bubbler is a water fountain. Let's see.
Like soda and pop.
Soda and pop. We call everything a Coke.
Yeah.
We call everything a Coke. I worked for a psychiatric hospital and a drug rehab hospital for a while in human resources, and I had to quickly learn a different word for Coke, because I would say I'm going to the break room to get Coke, and if you said Coke in a drug rehab, they thought you were talking about cocaine. So I learned quickly to say soda instead of Coke. So it depends on your situation. It depends on where you find yourself, right? So you need to know dialect, and you need to be careful about using slang and using dialect that is only for your region or for your culture, because your audience may not understand you. Audience may get lost. Plus, you might want to know some of their dialect to make them feel like you are more a part of them. So get to know your audience. When you do your audience analysis, one of the good ways you can find out some of that is by talking to the person that invited you and ask them about some of their dialects. All right.
Basic training, I picked up a lot of different dialects.
Oh, sure. Sure. In the military, you definitely do.
A lot of people don't know what haggis is.
Yeah. I know what it is, and I certainly don't think I like it. Okay, so the speaker's body is another type of technique, another form of technique that we use in the delivery. You are your first visual aid. Sometimes you're your only visual aid. Even if you're not using yourself as a visual aid, you can use your body, and movement and gestures and eye contact. All of that is really important to make sure that you're not doing wild gestures or wild movement. Don't be like a tennis ball, pacing back and forth so much that people, don't know where to look. You can move around, but move with purpose. Make purposeful gestures. Eye contact is really important. And it's just as important for the audience to make eye contact back to the speaker as it is for the speaker to make eye contact with the audience. So I want us to do a little experiment with eye contact. I want you to get a partner, okay, not groups, but partners, okay? Go ahead and get a partner. Decide who is A and who is B. We're going to do an eye contact experiment, okay? So get a partner. Okay, if somebody doesn't have a partner, who doesn't have a partner? Okay, Clyde. Can partner with Clyde. Okay, Austin. Let's see, y'all have a group of 3 back there. Does everybody have one? Okay, I'll do it with one of you. Okay, so I'll put Erica. Okay, this is what we're going to do. Decide who's A and who's B. Be A. Okay? A, both of you are going to talk. Talk about what you're going to do this weekend. Okay? You're both going to talk. For 30 seconds, A cannot look at B. Do not look at them in the face. You can look anywhere else you want to. The ceiling, at the floor, doesn't matter. Just do not look B in the face. But keep talking. Okay? After 30 seconds, we're going to switch, and B's not going to get to look. Okay? All right, we're ready? Okay. Go.
And this is like the stupidest shit I've ever done. 30 seconds yet.
All right, switch.
My unit apparently is about to be attached to 256. It's about to be disbanded because I got so many IG comments against them. No, I'm in like 39th and piece. They're about to get attached to the cow. What?
Okay, so it was hard, right? It was hard. Were you able to do it?
No, he looked at me a couple of times.
Looked at you. You probably unconsciously, you just look, right? So when you were the one that could not look, when you were not allowed to look, how did that make you feel? Annoying, uncomfortable.
I do theater, so.
Yeah, you're used to some of that. Rude. Did you feel rude? Did you feel like you were being disrespectful? Yeah. Okay, when your partner couldn't look at you, when your partner was not looking at you, how did that make you feel? Weird. Ignored. Yeah. Could you listen very well? No. Okay. So it's really important to make eye contact, and we do that sort of unconsciously in conversations. We don't always stare at people. We do look away from time to time during conversations, but we do make a lot greater eye contact. What did you say, Stephen?
I said I always stare at people, like when I'm talking to them.
You're just always constantly on them. You never look away. That's unique. That's unique. Yeah, that's unique because we do tend to look away some. But what it means for public speaking is that as the speaker, if you're not making eye contact with the audience, if you're looking at the back wall or the ceiling or the floor, the audience trust in you is going to diminish. It's going to go down. And you probably will lose their interest as well. You as the speaker, if the audience is not looking back at you, if their heads are bowed or their eyes are closed or they're looking at something else, then you may feel, as a speaker, you may feel annoyed, you may feel ignored, you may feel like, what's the point? Why am I here anyway? Because it appears that people are not maybe paying attention. So it's important on both sides. It's important for the speaker to make eye contact. It's important for the audience to maintain eye contact back with the speaker, because then it can influence and increase the exchange of ideas. All right, so it's important. It's hard to do when you're a beginning speaker to make eye contact because you're nervous. So one of the techniques that you might use is to scan the audience, not lingering, on anybody in particular for very long. And when I say eye contact, I am not talking about staring at people, okay? I don't want you glaring and staring, all right? I do want you to make normal eye contact. And it takes practice, especially for beginning speakers. So practice that while you're practicing your speech, okay? So it's important, all right? So as we're talking about practicing, take your outline, practice the speech with your outline, then put your outline away and practice your speech. And see how far you can get before you reach for the outline for help. And then that may give you an indication of what you need to put on your note card to help you remember your entire speech. So, and don't, lay down on your bed or sit in your recliner and practice your speech. Do like a dress rehearsal. Stand up. Do it out loud. Maybe get some friends or your family to be an audience for you. That's really good. That gets you used to people looking at you. It also gets you used to the feedback from the audience. So practice, practice, practice. Practice with your visual aids. Make sure that you have timed your speech so you know how long it is. Okay. You do not have to dress up, okay? I don't want you here in your pajamas, but you don't have to dress up, all right? Okay, so we talked about the delivery note card. It's here again in this information so that you won't forget to make your delivery note card, but make it well, okay? Make sure that you have exactly what you need on that note card so that you can make it through your speech, because you should only use it to refer to. You should not read it. You should use it, if you lose your place, but you should know the material well enough to know that you can do the speech if you've lost your note card. All right. Any questions? We're not going to do Q&A, okay? We don't have time. We have too many students. So if you have questions for each other, you can ask those after class. We're not going to take up class time for Q&A. Yes, ma'am.
If you have a question like in your speech, like just ask it in the class, is that okay?
That's fine. Yes, that's fine. All right. I want us to watch a speech. We're actually going to watch it twice. The first one, it needs improvement. And so we're going to watch this, and then we'll talk about what it needs, and then we'll watch the final version. It's called The Hidden World of Chili Peppers.
That's the final version.
Whoops. Stop. Thank you. May have to take it out. It keeps wanting to play that one. There we go. Oh, there we go. Nope. Let me just take it out and start over.
Play video games, like some characters. That's really a good. It's awesome. I love it. I think it makes my career
Voice acting.
Yeah. It just makes some cool shit for like anime or something.
There we go. Okay, now I got the right one.
Alright.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I like 3 voice acting. Be fun.
Okay.
Somebody nervous.
Chili peppers can be incredibly hot, but they're still one of my favorite things to eat. Whether it's Mexican food, Thai food, or plain old Texas chili. The spicier the better in my view. So when thinking about a speech topic, I thought it'd be a really neat idea to do it on chili peppers. Chili peppers have been around for thousands of years. Their scientific name is capsicum. I think that's how it's pronounced. They're different from black peppers, which come from Asia. Chili peppers come from South America. In fact, as you can see from this map, they began somewhere around Bolivia, Brazil. They spread everywhere else after Columbus came to the New World. The pleasure and pain of eating chili peppers comes from a chemical called capsaicin, something like that. Here's a chili pepper that I cut in half. I know it's kind of small, you can't see it, but there are these veins and seeds in there, and that's where the capsaicin is held. It's where all the heat is. As one of the books I read said, there are 2 ways to measure the heat of the chili pepper. The HPLC method is more scientific, so scientists prefer to use it. This guy that I held up is an orange habanero pepper, and if you eat it, it'll burn your mouth up.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do eat a hot pepper, don't try rinsing out your mouth with water. Instead, drink some milk or some yogurt or some other stuff like that. Milk also helps if you burn your skin from contacting it with a pepper. If you're attacked by a mugger or a robber, you can protect yourself by using a pepper spray. The spray burns the eyes and skin and gives you enough time to escape. According to Jack Challam, chili peppers also have lots of medical benefits. They're used to reduce arthritis pain, to help with indigestion, and cure baldness. Well, I guess that's all I have to say about chili peppers. Can you imagine life without chili peppers? I know I can't. So, thank you.
Okay, so what do you think? Really rough. Yeah.
Calm his nerves down a little.
He was nervous, and nerves are okay, but was he prepared?
No.
He had too many note cards.
Too many note cards, he couldn't keep track of them, practically reading from them. What did you think about those slides with the fireworks? I mean, did they make sense?
I like some peppers.
No, he didn't use them very well. He showed you, he said, I know you can't see this with the little pepper, so we don't do that. We don't say, I know you can't see this. We do something where they can see it, or we don't use it, okay? So that drives me crazy. I know you can't see this, but, all right, you're really too small. Make sure your visual aids are large enough to really see, okay? So,
He used vocal pauses.
yes, lots of vocal pauses. He had a little bit of spontaneity about him because I don't think he knew what he was talking about. So it just sounded a little more spontaneous than what the final version. He's a little more formal in this final version. I wish he'd lighten up just a little bit, loosen up just a little bit. But it's still a really good final version. So we'll watch that now.
Imagine your mouth burning like wildfire, your eyes squirting out uncontrollable tears, and your face red and sweating profusely. Are you sick? No, you just took a bite of a screaming hot chili pepper. Congratulations, you're partaking in a worldwide tradition that has been spicing up lives and diets for thousands of years. My own desire for spicy meals led me to investigate why I get red in the face and salivate over the mere thought of eating a spicy chili. In the process, I've discovered there's a lot more to chili peppers than I'd ever imagined. Today, I'd like to share with you what I've learned about the history of chili peppers, why they can be so spicy, what to do if you eat a too hot pepper, and some of the ways chili peppers are used other than in foods. The chili pepper has a long and fascinating history. Its scientific name is capsicum. Now, this is different than the common black pepper you have on your dining room table, whose scientific name is Piper nigrum. Black pepper was first cultivated in Asia, and it was prized in the West as early as the Roman Empire. In contrast, the chili pepper originated more than 5,000 years ago in South America, near what is today Bolivia and Brazil. Over time, it spread to Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean. But it wasn't until Columbus came in the 1490s that the chili pepper became known to the rest of the world. As stated in the Cambridge World History of Food, within 50 years after Columbus returned to Spain with sample plants, chili peppers could be found growing in coastal areas from Africa to Asia. From there, they spread inland until they had taken hold of the taste buds of people around the globe. Today, they're most widely used in Mexico, Central and South America, Africa, Asia, the Balkans, and the United States. Carolyn Dilley and Susan Belsinger, authors of the Chili Pepper book, estimate that 25% of the world's adult population uses chili peppers as a part of their daily diet. Now that we know a little bit about the history of chili pepper, let's see why they can put such a fire in our belly. The pleasure and pain involved in eating chili pepper comes from a chemical called capsaicin. Capsaicin is concentrated in the pepper's veins and seeds, pictured here. To enjoy the flavor of chili pepper without burning your stomach or mouth, avoid the veins and seeds when cooking or eating them. P.W. Boslin tells us in the book Spices, Herbs, and Edible Fungi that chili pepper intensity is measured in two ways. The first was developed by Wilbur L. Scoville in 1912. This method uses trained testers to measure chili peppers in Scoville heat units. These range from 0 to 300,000. According to Boslin, this test is subjective because it relies on the individual tester's sensitivity to capsaicin. The second, more widely used test is called the High-Performance Liquid Chromatography Test, more commonly known as HPLC. This is also measured in Scoville heat units, but it's more objective. The chili pods are dried and ground, and then the chemicals responsible for the heat are analyzed and rated according to pungency. The hottest pepper on record is the deceptively small and unimposing orange habanero pepper. It's been rated as high as 300,000 Scoville heat units, and it's so powerful that some people have an allergic reaction just by touching it, which is why I'm holding it by the stem. The mildest pepper is the standard green bell, which you see at the grocery store every day. It's been rated at 0 Scoville heat units.
Okay, we'll stop there. So, better? He's still not making as much eye contact as I would like. He's still looking at those note cards too much. But better visual aids, better usage of his visual aids. He had a full introduction. He had transition statements from one main point to the next. What'd you say?
Now he really discussed the main points, and his pronunciation was better.
Yes, he knew how to pronounce the words. He sounded and looked like he knew what he was talking about this time.
He lied to us.
Wasn't so scatterbrained. What?
He lied to us.
A lot more prepared.
A lot more prepared. Why did he lie to us?
Habanero's not the hottest.
It's not what is?
But there's chili.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't as awkward.
Wasn't as awkward. Yeah, he was just much more prepared. I think he knew what he was talking about. Yeah. Okay, so as you are developing your speech, you need to be practicing it. You need to be practicing those speeches. Outlines are due in class on Friday. Bring your hard copy outline on Friday. Speeches start Monday. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, I want to make those fire. Yes. Please put